Every year on March 8th, something interesting happens. Some people celebrate International Women's Day loudly. Some celebrate it quietly. Some ignore it completely. And some people feel strangely uncomfortable when the topic appears. But here's something fascinating. Psychology suggests that the way you react to this day can reveal a lot about your personality, your beliefs, and how you see the world. Because our reactions to social events are rarely random. They are shaped by psychology. Today we're going to explore the psychology of people on International Women's Day. And by the end of this video, you might recognize yourself in one of these types. Let's start with the most visible group, the loud celebrators. These are the people who post about the day on social media. They share quotes, statistics, and messages about women's achievements. Some organize events or start conversations online. Psychologically, these people often have a strong sense of collective identity. That means they see themselves as part of something bigger than just their own individual life. They care about social progress and shared values. For them, participating in social conversations feels meaningful. But there's another psychological layer here. Something researchers call identity signaling. Identity signaling is when people express their beliefs publicly in order to communicate their values. In simple terms, they're showing the world what they stand for. Social media has made this behavior extremely common. Posting about important issues can feel like taking part in something bigger. It creates a sense of connection with others who share the same beliefs. But psychologists also talk about something called moral licensing. This happens when people publicly express their values and subconsciously feel like they've already done their part. The symbolic action can sometimes replace deeper action. Of course, that doesn't apply to everyone. For many people, public celebration truly reflects genuine values. But the psychology behind it is more complex than it first appears. Now let's talk about a very different group. The quiet celebrators. These people rarely post anything online about International Women's Day, but they might send a thoughtful message to their mother. They might buy flowers for their partner, or simply take a moment to appreciate the women in their lives. Psychologically, these people often have something called relational orientation. This means they prioritize personal relationships over public recognition. For them, appreciation is something personal, not something that needs an audience. Research in relationship psychology shows that private gratitude often strengthens emotional bonds. When appreciation happens privately, it usually feels more sincere. There is no pressure to impress anyone, no need for approval, just genuine appreciation. Some people also feel uncomfortable with performative culture. In a world where almost everything is shared online, they prefer to keep meaningful moments private. For them, appreciation doesn't need attention. It simply needs sincerity. Then there are the people who ignore the day completely. No posts, no conversations, no reactions, just silence. At first glance, this may look like indifference, but psychology offers another explanation. Modern life is filled with awareness campaigns, important days, and constant discussions about social issues. Our brains are exposed to endless information about what we should care about. And eventually, the brain becomes overwhelmed. Psychologists call this information fatigue. When people experience information fatigue, the mind begins to filter things out. Ignoring something doesn't always mean rejecting it. Sometimes it simply means the brain is trying to protect itself from overload. There's also another perspective. Some people believe appreciation should not depend on a specific date. They prefer to treat people with respect every day, rather than focusing on a single symbolic moment. Whether someone agrees with that idea or not, it reflects a different way of thinking about social traditions. Now let's talk about the most psychologically interesting reaction: discomfort. You've probably seen this before. Someone mentions International Women's Day, and suddenly the conversation becomes tense. Some people become defensive. Some make jokes. Some try to change the topic. Why does this happen? One explanation comes from something psychologists call identity threat. Identity threat occurs when a message challenges the way someone sees themselves. If a person believes the world is already fair and balanced, conversations about inequality may feel like a personal criticism, even if nobody is directly blaming them. The brain interprets the message as a threat to its identity. And when people feel psychologically threatened, they often react defensively. They might deny the issue, they might minimize it, or they might criticize the conversation itself, not necessarily because they have carefully analyzed the topic, but because their mind is trying to protect their self-image. This is a very common psychological defense mechanism, and it appears in many different social discussions. There is also another group that rarely gets attention: the observers. These people watch the discussions every year but rarely participate. They read the posts, they see the arguments, they observe how people react, but they stay silent. Psychologically, observers often have a more analytical approach. Instead of reacting immediately, they prefer to process information first. They may see the complexity of the topic and choose not to jump into the debate. Silence in this case doesn't necessarily mean indifference. Sometimes it simply means reflection. Some people prefer to understand a situation fully before expressing an opinion. International Women's Day is more than just a date on the calendar. In many ways, it acts like a social mirror. Every year, it reveals how different people think, what they value, and how they interpret the world around them. Some people celebrate loudly, some appreciate quietly, some ignore the day, some feel uncomfortable, and some simply observe. But none of these reactions happen randomly. They are shaped by personality, experience, beliefs, and psychological perspective. Because even small social reactions can reveal something much deeper about how the human mind works. So when March 8th arrives next time, pay attention, not just to what people say, but to how they react. You might learn something interesting about the psychology of others, and maybe even about yourself.